Hello everyone, my name is Brandon Job, and today I'm here with a local entrepreneur in the Metro West area. Please welcome Abe Wurster.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Nice to meet with you today. Now before we get into anything, kind of talk about how you got started in this entrepreneur business.
So, I think off air we were talking a little bit. I grew up one of seven, and didn't go out to eat much. Had to learn to cook at home to kind of make, inexpensive food taste great.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I was always really passionate about. And so, kind of my first job ever was in a restaurant at Olive Garden.
Been to
fine
Olive Garden
dining.
too, yeah.
But I don't know. There's something exciting about working in hospitality. It's very fast paced. I don't know. It just kind of called to me. And so I did that all through undergrad. Did business school marketing at Rhode Island College. Then worked as a project manager for CVS for a bit. Went back to school to law school. All the while keeping a job either full time in the summer or nights and weekends while I was in school or working my corporate job. And it felt like work, but it was so much more fun than anything else I was doing.
Are you talking about at Olive Garden?
So at this point, I was working down in Newport, actually at the Red Parrot.
Okay.
And that's just like, Newport is super fun. And, for better or for worse, restaurant people tend to be pretty charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of fun that goes on in that world.
Mm-hmm.
It can get out of hand for sure. But I don't know, I wrapped up law school and I had a good offer, and I ended up not taking it and deciding not to pursue law at all at that point. And I knew it was kind of a dream to have your own restaurant. It's I feel like, especially in the area of the country we live in, to get a liquor license, to get the space, to staff, you're talking $1 million just to open your doors.
Especially here in Boston.
So I knew that's what I wanted to do, but it seemed kind of unrealistic. But I kind of was well, I think I'd rather be broke trying to chase something that I love than make pretty good money but being miserable.
I like that.
So I went and started working in Seaport at Real House Oyster Bar, and that was a great experience. That was a little different than anything else I had done. So I'd worked in a few restaurants at this point. But there was a level of professionalism there that I don't think had existed in other places I had worked. And it was at a good time in my life. I was, just turned 30. So I was ready for something more professional in that state, because I was a little reluctant to go back into that industry, because it's a lot of, there's a good amount of substance abuse, there's a good amount of house parties, late night.
So you're getting all the different type of categories of people.
100%, and you got to be on. You're performing in front of people all night for 7, 8, sometimes 12-hour shift, and then you get off with your buddies and you just want that release. But I didn't want to go back into that. It's fun when you're 21, 22, but at 30, it's hey, I can't be out till 5 in the morning.
Exactly.
That derails my whole week.
Exactly.
And there was just a level of professionalism there. They knew how to have fun. Everyone had a good time, but it was just more professional. And the GM there was awesome. He actually really encouraged me to kind of go out on my own. He had spoken to me about kind of taking a position with more responsibility there, and I said honestly, I'm looking to do something on my own, and he was really supportive in that.
So kind of like a mentor for you.
Yeah, definitely. And then I had mentioned to you, their space is so small, but what they were able to do out of that space, to me, kind of, you dream of doing something that's well, this is my dream, is to have my own place, and you want it to be perfect, and so you start being super selective about well, I don't want to go there because I couldn't do this, and I don't want to go there because I can't do that. And seeing kind of what they did, I kind of changed my philosophy of okay, find the space and then kind of fit something to work in that.
Yes.
So I was driving by on my way home one day from work, and I saw the sign on this tiny little closet of a place.
In Natick, as you said,
in
right?
Natick,
Yep.
yeah.
Downtown Natick.
And it's actually South Natick, the Falls area.
Okay.
So there's a library there, there's a frame store, there's a coffee shop. And this place is like smaller than this room we're in right now. It's 140 square feet.
Yeah.
But I just was like, all right, I'm gonna make this work. And so I met with the guy. It was actually a really high demand property. I guess he had like 7 other applications already. But he took his time with it, and he got to know everyone, I think, that was supplying. And I met with him, I think, 4 times before he ultimately was like, I'm gonna give you the place.
Okay.
So something about what I wanted to do there appealed to him. I'm not
Yes.
really sure what. You'd have to have him and ask him. Yeah, and then it was an uphill battle, honestly.
Because you said this was last year in March, you said?
Yeah.
Last year in March?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're coming up actually
Coming
almost
up on a year,
full
yeah.
year. Wow, time flies.
I
It's
know.
crazy.
So kind of, let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
So Lunch on the Charles, how'd you figure out with that name? Oh, all right. You're good.
So it's right on the Charles River. So that was pretty easy. Honestly, it just kind of came to me. Once I knew, like, I'm going to do lunch here, and then it kind of just made sense. I'm on the Charles River.
Yep.
You know, without getting sued by Maine Beer Company, I like their beer lunch.
Yeah.
It's kind of simple. They have a lunch beer, they have a dinner beer, and I kind of like the simplicity of it. Of like, you know, I think your name should tell a little bit about your place, like what you're doing here, and it's just like it's lunch on Charles River.
Okay. So kind of like talking about what you do and then the area around it as well.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
So in going into this, because you talked about you were in college, you were pursuing your career, whether it was marketing, and
Yeah.
what was the other one you
Business
mentioned?
marketing and then
Business
law
marketing.
school.
Okay, so as doing that, you get out of college, you graduate now, and you're in that business realm, but you said you really weren't too sure. What was that, I want to say, breaking point where you were like, you know what, enough's enough, and like you said, that's when you kind of turned to going back into the restaurant business stream?
I don't know if there's like a definitive, like, single, like, this is the moment. I think there was a lot of like getting up to go do a job that I just really didn't want to go to. Like I had liked my coworkers. It was a good space. Like honestly, I had my apartment. I had my side job. Like I was very comfortable, but I just didn't feel fulfilled. I felt like, you know, like, man, if I
Didn't
wake
feel like
up,
a purpose.
if I wake up in 40 years and I'm still here, like, I'm gonna be mad. Like, you know, this is not what I need to be doing. And so I didn't even necessarily know what the next step was. I just knew, like,
It just wasn't going to be in that space.
yeah, you know, like, nothing changes if nothing changes, and
Yeah.
like this is fine, but like this isn't what I want long term. So if you just keep doing it, it's not gonna change. So I was actually kind of on the fence of like, I had my undergrad in business, so I could go get my MBA or go pursue something different like a law degree. It's like, okay, well, I've already got business, so maybe I'll do law, and kind of just like, that's got to open doors, right? It's
Yeah.
law degree, we'll see. So I did that. I did 4 different internships while I was there. So I did 1 every year, and then 1 year I did 2. It's a 3-year program.
So it sounds like you're really trying to just find something.
Something. I
Yeah.
just, you know, and I think maybe because my introductions into the restaurant world had been Olive Garden first, and then Red Parrot in Newport, I didn't see it as being like a serious avenue that you could pursue your life that way. I kind of thought, like, you know, that's for people who like don't have a degree and don't know what they're doing with their life, and they're just gonna, you know, work at the restaurant.
So basically at that time, it kind of took it for granted.
100%.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until like I left it, my first year of law school, they, I wouldn't say it's like a hard and fast rule, but like they say like you're not allowed to have a job. So I actually didn't have a job for my first year of school, and I actually really missed it. It was the first time I'd never worked
Had like
in
a
a
side
restaurant.
job or like something at the
Yeah,
side. Yeah.
I had from the time I was like 18, I'd been working in restaurants.
Part-time.
Part-time or full-time.
Okay.
Depending on, like, you know, during the summer I'd work full-time, and then during school year I'd work nights and weekends.
Yeah. So kind of with that time when they said like, okay, like you can't do this, it has to be strictly this.
Yep.
Now you have to make a choice.
Right.
And kind of at that time is where you're like, I don't know if this is like fully right for me.
Yeah, you know, and like sitting here now, I think that's 100% what happened. During it, I'm not sure I really realized that. I just like, it just just didn't feel like
It
right.
didn't feel right.
Yeah, it just didn't feel right.
And it
Felt like,
happens. It does happen.
you know, like and like, don't get me wrong, law school was great. I met a lot of great people. I'm still friends with a bunch of them. I met my wife there, so like,
That's all.
it was cool.
It was cool,
I'm
yeah.
happy I went. But it just felt like, you know, I was going through these internships and doing stuff, and I felt like it was performative. I felt like it was like, all right, I'm pretending to be someone that I'm not really that person.
Yeah.
And I think as you get older, maybe you don't want to do that. You're just like, this isn't worth pretending.
And it's not worth like wasting your time because it's like there's so much more for you.
Yeah.
But now as we get to you becoming an owner now and switching from that law degree, you know, like that, I don't want to say perfect student, but like what we, you know, are told as kids to go
Right,
do to college,
right.
everything like that. You're a big family-oriented person, especially being 1 of 7, like you said.
100%.
What was the support like from leaving that to now becoming an owner and getting into owning your own restaurant?
Support like from my family?
Yeah,
or
from your family specifically.
So my parents, I love them to death. They are like the prototypical parent of like, you can do anything, you know, super supportive in that sense, but also like unrealistic. In a sense, like I remember like growing up playing baseball and they'd be like, you're throwing 100 out there. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I love you for supporting me, but like, I'm not throwing 100. So my mom especially, she had always been like, you should open your own restaurant. You should open your own restaurant. Even when I was, you know, business school, law school, like, when are you gonna open your own restaurant? So as far as that support, they were very supportive.
Sounds like they saw it a little bit before you.
I think so.
Okay.
But also, I don't know, my family, it's probably just a me thing. I have this weird thing where I don't really tell people what I'm doing until it's done. So like they didn't even know that I was pursuing this until I'd signed the lease.
You want it to be official before you just. But
100%.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's not. You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
You know, maybe it's a little superstitious, but like you start putting it out there and then
100%. You don't want to jinx it.
So I waited until the lease was signed and then I told them, and they were really excited.
That's good.
My wife was the most supportive, especially financially, because it was like, hey, like I'm not working, and now I'm gonna start something on my own, and like is gonna require upfront capital, and then I don't know when money's gonna be coming back in. So, but she was just like, you know, I know this is what you love. I know this is what you're great at, so like I support you. Go do it. So that was really nice, and I don't want to take it for granted.
For sure. Now, especially with the business that you have now in the restaurant, what are some goals or like maybe short-term, long-term goals that you have for Lunch on the Charles?
Short-term goals, I'd like to be able to hire 2 people by the end of 2026.
Okay. So get some more staff. Okay.
Because right now it's just me. So, and I don't mind that. I don't mind the long days. But I guess in my head, bringing on 2 employees would also mean that I'm doing enough revenue to support having 2 employees.
Exactly. And the bigger you get, the more staff you're going to need, of course.
Yep. So short-term goals, I'd like to hire 2 people. Long-term goals, I would like Lunch on the Charles to be like a staple in the community. I'd like it to be like the spot that you go to. Everyone knows, like, you know, they have the best whatever sandwich, the best salad, the best soup. Yeah, I want it to be the best. I want it to be.
Now, not to cut you off, I did mention this earlier, but because I thought there was, I probably read it differently, but I thought there was more businesses that you had. But would that be something that you would want, though, for the future, to kind of expand your branch and have like other businesses everywhere else?
So as far as like under the lunch umbrella, yes. I do fear getting too big too fast and losing quality.
True, that is true.
I feel like we've seen it with Panera. I remember like when I was younger, Panera was like really good. And now I don't think it carries that same quality it once did.
Okay.
I even think to a lesser extent, you're seeing it with Tate now that they've been bought out by Panera, or partnered, I guess, because the founder still owns a minority stake in that, I think.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be willing to do anything that would compromise the quality of the food that we're serving.
Okay. So quality over quantity.
100%.
And I definitely agree with that as well.
And I think that's something like, because, I mean, I think whatever you're doing, people always have their opinions, but for some reason, I think because like everybody eats, they have like an opinion on what you should do with your restaurant. So I get a lot of people every day like, hey, you should do this. Like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And ultimately, like, I'm not looking to cater to like the majority of people necessarily. Like, I'm looking to do this thing exceptionally well, and execute that at a high level, and then kind of have people understand what that is, and want to come for that.
It kind of builds your crowd as well at the same time.
100%. So like, not to like get into the minutia of it, but like, you know, down to like our mayonnaise we make from scratch. It's olive oil based. There's no vegetable oil. There's no soybean oil. It's pasture-raised, pasteurized eggs. There's no deli meat. It's house marinated chicken, house grilled, house sliced.
So kind of like all the behind the scenes stuff that you may not see, but like you're specifically targeting that as well too.
Yes.
Okay.
It's, you know, I'm using local bread. I use Iggy's Francis sourdough. So, and not to go on like a whole road here, but like, you know, you see so many people have gluten allergies today, and like a lot of that has to do with like, it's not really that you have a gluten allergy, it's that you might have more of like a glyphosate allergy.
Okay.
So when wheat's mass produced, they get sprayed with Roundup, glyphosate, and that ends up, you know, getting into your body, upsetting your endocrine system. It's a whole thing. But basically, like Iggy's uses in-house milled flour. It's a sourdough, which is easier on your gut to begin with. So like I could nerd out on all this. This is like
no, I like it because you're very knowledgeable about what you're putting out, and like you said again, like you could just be like any other restaurant and like here, just we're gonna make this, that, and the third. But like really being knowledgeable, like no, we're gonna really focus on what we're making, what we're putting into it, so we can appease or not even maybe appease, but just put out good quality.
And that's what it is. I think I'm sure you've seen the meme where it's like, you know, like going out to eat now is just like what restaurant prepares Cisco the best.
I know, yeah.
So like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that at all. So I want it to be like, you know, like you can get this sandwich here. You're not going to get this anywhere else. Like you might get a sandwich somewhere else, but I'll have people that come in, you know, and they're like, they sell sandwiches at the coffee shop next door. I'm like, yeah, I know. They're like, you're not worried about that? I'm like, well, I think we both sell sandwiches.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's where the similarities kind of end. So I think people will figure it out.
Okay. And before we go, what are like some other things maybe that you want people to kind of like stay into for or look out for in the near future that you have prepared at Lunch on the Charles?
Nothing at lunch, I would say. Like, I think we're pretty committed to what we're doing there. I don't know that there's going to be a ton of new surprises there.
I know you did say the liquor license though, trying to incorporate that into the business.
So, yeah, I don't want to get too into it because as I mentioned, I don't like to talk about things until they're official.
True.
But just keep a lookout for dinner on the Charles, I would say, in the next 2 years, hopefully. Okay. Be a full service dinner restaurant nearby.
And last but not least, you just want to let everybody know how they can reach you and where to get in touch?
Lunch on the Charles, Instagram, just Lunch on the Charles, lunchontheCharles.com, or 57 Elliott Street in South Natick. Come by Monday through Friday, 10:30 to 3. We're there.
I love it. Well, Abe,
Brandon,
I just want to thank you again for coming in and sharing your business here at Access Framingham.
It was awesome. Really appreciate the time.